Hey, welcome everyone. We are right at the top of the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started with our presentation today. Again, welcome. My name is Sierra King, and I am the Program Services and on the admissions team. I am the Program Director and Admissions Director as well at the Data Incubator. And we are a fellowship, scholarship, and placement company. We've promised you an excellent info session today that will be led by one of our instructors, Nicholas De La Fuente, who is here with us today. But to start things off, I would like to give you a quick overview of our programs and everything that we offer, and then I will hand off to Nick to lead us through our presentation on our program overviews and helping you choose the right program for you. One thing I'd like to go over, I know we put a couple announcements in the chat as well, but just a reminder to place all of your questions in the Q&A section, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation here today. And as a reminder, our session is an hour long, so if we don't get to all of your questions today, please email us at admissions@thedataincubator.com and we'll be happy to help you. So a quick update or a quick overview of the Data Incubator. We focus on training people to become data scientists and data engineers. And why is that important? Well, it's really because data professionals have the ability to work with the latest tools on unstructured and structured data to drive business value. And this is a big need in the world right now. We work with companies in a ton of different industries, ranging from tech to finance to retail and healthcare, many more. Every company has data and wants to use that data to drive business value for them. So we get asked pretty frequently, what does the Data Incubator do that's different than other training programs out there? And we know that there are a lot of other data-focused programs out there. So I'm sure, like others are, you're wondering what we do that's just a little bit different. So what we've found is when you're looking at training, there are really two different types of training, one being fast-paced and efficient, and two, slower and focusing on understanding and completion rates. University is one example where you'll receive a more detailed understanding, but with a lot more time invested. And then on-the-job training is usually very quick and efficient, but maybe you're not fully understanding what you're doing. So we've taken all of these aspects and combined them together to find a great middle ground for training. Our program is fast-paced. You'll walk out of the program knowing a lot more about data science and data engineering, and also the real-world business applications of both, and with a deeper understanding as you get from university. And all of our instructors are PhD and master's holders, and most of them have completed these programs themselves, so they know how to provide that in-depth training that you're looking for as well. And then for our spring 2022 cohort, we'll be offering 3 data-focused programs. We'll be offering our successful full-time data science fellowship program and a more flexible version of that, our part-time data science fellowship program. And we're also offering our new full-time data engineering program as well. So I want to take some time to review the similarities and the offerings of all 3 of our programs. So all of our programs are intense. They are built around hands-on data-focused curriculum, and we offer both full-time and part-time programs for our data science and then full-time for our data engineering as well. And both are packed with a lot of information and tools. They're thorough. Each week we'll focus on a different data tool or approach. And in addition to our lectures, we have our students participate in hands-on practice. We really believe in fostering an interactive learning environment. And so in each program, students will work on mini projects that focus on the data tools that you're studying. And then additionally, our programs are very collaborative. We want students to not only work with their colleagues and instructors, but to also have the opportunity to network and connect with hiring partners as well. In addition to that, our programs are career focused. We have career coaches that help you succeed in your data focused career. You'll not only learn how to present your best self by attending our career search workshops, but you'll also have the opportunity to work with a #1 resume writing company to get you a polished resume and cover letter. And then lastly, all of our programs are interactive. Every student in our program is provided a Jupyter server for the duration of the course. So you can follow along and lecture and see and edit raw code as it's being run. And then you will also receive immediate feedback via our interactive grader. And if you're interested in learning more about any of these programs, again, Nick will be giving you some more information, but if you have questions about being connected with an enrollment counselor, you can email admissions@thedataincubator.com. So just a quick overview of our full-time data science program. The full-time data science program lasts for 8 weeks with classes held daily. You can expect to spend about 40 hours per week in class working on assignments. And this is a quick overview of our full-time program broken down by week. If you have more questions, again, Nick will be reviewing these in more detail, but you're also welcome to email our admissions inbox as well. And then our part-time program, the part-time program covers the same curriculum content as our full-time, but it is broken up across 20 weeks with classes held Monday and Wednesday from 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And you can expect to spend about 10 hours per week outside of class working on assignments, and office hours will be available each week to students. And again, you'll receive that same excellent curriculum and training as our full-time program, but at a slower pace. And these sessions are live and instructor-led, so you're still able to interact with your instructors, your peers, and ask questions. And then for our full-time data engineering program, the full-time data engineering program lasts for 8 weeks as well, with classes held daily, and you can expect to spend about 40 hours per week in class working on assignments. And then this is a quick overview of the different modules and topics that you'll cover in that 8 weeks. And again, you're more than welcome to email us admissions at the Data Incubator if you have any questions about the program overviews as well. So that is just a little bit about TDI and our programs. I'll now pass to Nick to lead you through our demo here, or actually our program overview here today. And then I'll come back at the end to help answer any questions. So Nick, I will stop sharing my screen and pass to you now.
Yeah, hi, how's everybody going? Go ahead and share my screen. Pull it up. Okay. Awesome. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Is it good?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, so I am the data engineer who's in charge of the data engineering program. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about today about the difference between data science and data engineering and which might be right for you. So I'm sure you've heard data engineering and data science being thrown around very frequently over the course of the last 5 or 10 years. And that's because there's been a huge data boom, or at least companies think that there have been. There's been a lot of companies who've been wanting to do stuff with their data. And it makes sense. There's a lot of data that is being provided by people on the internet and people interacting with their services and their tools in business. So, and there's a big distinction between data engineers and data science, one that has not really been made very clear over the course of the last 5 years. Which is why we're introducing a new data engineering program at Pragmatic. So what is data engineering? What does it mean to be a data engineer, and how is it different from being a data scientist? Well, a data engineer is essentially somebody who is constructing and dealing with the movement of the data. They sort of develop the databases, develop the large-scale processing systems, and create the sort of cloud infrastructure to make sure that the data is being handled in a precise and efficient manner. Now, in contrast to a data scientist, on the other hand, is going to be the one who sort of gets insights and analytics from the data that is being processed and provided to the data scientist. So you can sort of think about this as a data engineer is sort of providing a tool to stream the data to the data scientist, and then the data scientist sort of takes that and sort of runs with it and comes up with models or some type of insights that the business can use or the company can use for future decisions. So the data engineer is sort of fundamental in the sort of development of data processes, right? So let's go ahead and move on to the next one and talk about the sort of skills and proficiencies that sort of come along with being a data engineer. And there is a distinction between them, between the skills and proficiencies a data engineer has and the skills and proficiencies that a data scientist has. So for instance, a data engineer is going to be skilled in Python, Git, Bash, SQL, NoSQL, data wrangling, data visualization skills. All of these are also shared with data scientists. But where it starts to stem out is when we sort of start getting in deeper into distributed computing computing, and we start diving deeper into streaming services such as Kafka, and we get a better understanding of sort of DevOps tools and cloud services like AWS and Google. We get an understanding of how to build pipelines that sort of move data around. We get an understanding of data warehousing and data lakes, all terms I'm sure you're semi-familiar with. But at the end of the day, what all these sort of mean and what these programming proficiencies provide a data engineer is the ability to create strong infrastructure for data movement and data processing and data cleaning, right? So because oftentimes there's a lot of different sources from where this data might be coming from. There might be 5 or 6 sources, and it's ultimately up to the data engineer at the end of the day to figure out how those sources sort of combine together to give a better sort of understanding and perspective on the on various metrics that the company or business or whatever it might be interested in. Now, the data scientist is going to go ahead and then deal with those sort of insights or the sort of data that you've gone ahead and aggregated, right? So as a data engineer, you will likely be dealing with large amounts of data. You'll be constructing pipelines that move this data around, and you'll be dealing with different types of and sources of data, for instance, streaming data or static data. And then you'll be sort of pushing this into cloud production so that, it can sort of automate and handle itself. So a lot of what a data engineer does is going to be dealing with the cleaning and protection and sort of handling of that data, right? And this is sort of where the pipelining comes in, as you will be laying a bunch of pipelines to sort of move this data around. Because what is a pipeline? Just really takes stuff from point A to point B. A data pipeline is taking data from point A to point B, right? So you will be very deeply involved with AWS. You'll be very deeply involved with data warehousing and databases and data lakes and all those data terms, right? All those data storage units, right? So that is essentially the skills and proficiencies that a data engineer is going to have. And what this sort of looks like is more specifically, we'll get an understanding of AWS, Apache Airflow, so for workflows and understanding streaming processes and being able to sort of create a solid architecture for your data engineering pipeline. That's sort of what Apache Airflow allows us to do. We're also getting a very solid understanding of SQL, because as a data engineer, you're going to be dealing with relational databases a lot, and you should very well understand how SQL sort of plays a role in creating both databases and sort of querying databases. And it also plays a big role in multiple data warehousing tools as well. So SQL is a fundamental language alongside Python to sort of form together 2 pillars of a data engineering's programming toolkit, right? Alongside that as well, we'll get an understanding of distributed systems and sort of machine learning models as well, because as a data engineer, it's not bad to know machine learning models. You're not nearly as in depth and diving deeper into the machine learning models as, a data scientist, for instance, but you still have a sort of fundamental understanding of what it means to sort of have, a random forest or something like that, right? And you're going to have the data wrangling skills as well that a data scientist is going to have. I think the main distinction to point out here is that one deals a lot with the movement of data, and one deals a lot with the analysis of that data, right? So so let's go ahead and talk about what a data scientist is. So we've talked a lot about data engineer, but let's dive into what a data scientist is. So a data scientist is dealing with the manipulation and analysis of data, right? And this doesn't just stop there. They also dive into sort of creating predictions through machine learning algorithms or some type of statistical methods or some type of neural network or prescriptive modeling, right? And of course, in order to build these models, there is some type of domain knowledge that you have to have as a data scientist. Now, this might not be necessary coming into the field, but eventually at some point, the domain knowledge is necessary to really form a proper model and to sort of use these analytics and sort of insights that you're generating to sort of move forward with some type of decision or some type of business decision and create a model that is sort of moving in a direction that fits the sort of domain that you're dealing with. We're in the healthcare field, our sort of understanding of what our model is going to want to be is different than if we were in this financial field, right? There's a different sort of domain that we are playing with and in that sort of requires a data scientist to sort of change their mindset. And I guess this goes for the data engineer as well, in the sense that healthcare data probably looks a lot different than finance data. And what we want from that data and how we sort of store it is going to look completely different. I mean, for instance, financial data, we're probably going to want that to be very, very secure, right? And probably the health data as well. But again, these are sort of important things to think about. That, for instance, the security measures of a sort of data model and a pipeline aren't sort of needed to be thought about from a data scientist perspective, right? That's sort of put in place for them so that they can securely access the data, right? So again, just another slight distinction. Now, what is a data scientist skills and proficiencies? So similar to a data engineer, they're going to know Python, Git, Bash, SQL, data wrangling, and some machine learning skills. Now, where it really starts to diverge is data scientists are more sort of focused on sort of data visualization techniques, getting insights from the data, more complex machine learning models, understanding neural networks at a more complex level, and diving into distributed computing to sort of create these sort of models. So data scientists are very heavily on the analytics and mathematics side and sort of diving into the statistics of the data, while data engineers are sort of more oriented on the programming side. And the sort of creating the architecture and systems to sort of lay out a nice roadmap for how this data should look. So, I would say that if you're more heavily focused on programming and you're more of a visual sort of spatial kind of learner, then maybe data engineering might be the right track for you. But if you're more focused on sort of statistics and mathematics and sort of creative data modeling and like sort of getting an understanding and you like getting insights from data and gaining information and you're good at that, then maybe data science is the track. So two different fields that have two different specialties, depending upon the type of person you are. So just in terms of what data science skills and proficiencies you will develop at the TDI program, you'll dive deep into sort of the advanced analytical skills you need in order to sort of create these predictive and statistical models. You will get an in-depth understanding of artificial intelligence algorithms and neural network algorithms. You will get hopefully some domain knowledge in a wide variety of general fields. That's surprisingly, you can do that with data science because a lot of data is data at the end of the day, and it can be sort of generalized to a certain extent. So that's something cool that's about this program, is that it really sort of allows you to gain that domain knowledge without having to be too specific. Now, some more proficiencies that I think diverge from the data engineering program is the sort of they're more heavily on data visualization, I would say. In some instances, data engineers are also heavy on data visualization, but in a different sense, in a more sort of direct sense, like, oh, how, like, they sort of don't dive super deep into the numbers, where data engineer or data scientist will sort of create very strong visualizations from sort of deep diving into some statistical analysis, right? Where data engineers might just tell you the amount of data that's being provided. And again, this is sort of broad. I'm sure data and other data engineers out there do dive deep into the statistical models. But again, just in terms of a generic sort of description of both, yeah, that's how it would be. So in terms of the sort of hard skills you'll learn, you can see here we have TensorFlow, something that's not taught in the data engineering curriculum. We have stats models, which is something that's also not taught in the data engineering curriculum. SciPy and sklearn. We talk about that briefly in the data engineering program, but I would say that data science dives a lot deeper into that stuff. But we notice that AWS is missing here. And as I said, data engineering primarily deals a lot with AWS tools like EMR, Glue, EC2, S3. I know I'm just throwing terms out there, but if any of these ring a bell, then yeah, that's what we're going to be dealing with. And again, there's some overlap, but just important to know the distinction between what exactly is going to be the difference in what you'll be learning. So moving on, let's go ahead and talk about the skills that overlap and get a little bit more specific. So data scientists and data engineers both will understand SQL, data wrangling, Python, and SQL, just general programming techniques and sort of like what it means to be a coder, doing some leak code stuff, which is exciting, Bash and Git, and surprisingly enough, data. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't see that one coming. Data is at the core of both data scientist and data engineer fields. Now, for a little bit more specific on what it means to be a data engineer, there is advanced programming, cloud systems. We have data pipelines, data architectures, data storage, and sort of DevOps, sort of developing different types of operations for these programs or for this data. Data scientists are a little bit more statistics and mathematics based. They deal primarily with data analytics and sort of have good communication skills to sort of move forward and talk about these various insights that they have found. They also specialize in neural networks and machine learning. Awesome. So, and just a general sort of overview as well. A data engineer handles and collects data, constructs data systems, manages cloud systems, right? A data scientist performs deep data analysis, implements advanced machine learning and neural network techniques, and performs statistical analysis. So we can see those are two very different job descriptions, right? So there is a major difference. So again, the data skills that are going to overlap are data analytics. I mean, a data engineer is going to need some data analysis. That we're going to both data scientists and data engineers are going to understand how to program in terms of SQL and Python, and a use of big data. Now, I will say data engineers usually deal more with big data, just because they have to deal with all of the various streams of data, opposed to a data scientist, which can sort of nitpick which types of data they want to deal with. But they're both prevalent. It's prevalent in both fields. I guess another really important distinction to make is that data engineers also do a lot of distributed computing. They do a lot of Spark and Hadoop. And again, data scientists do as well, but it's more focused on using distributed systems in order to develop some type of model or perform some type of superficial, or I guess not superficial, but some type of data wrangling, right? Okay. So, what is the sort of, why do we have data scientists and why do we have data engineers? Well, just to give you a perspective, every person generated about 1.7 megabytes of data in just a second in 2020, which is a lot of data. And so internet users typically generate about 2.5 quintillion bytes of data each day, which is a lot of data. And it's wild that there's this much data being generated, and a lot of it is being unused. And this is why there's such a huge sort of influx of data engineers and data scientists, is because, you know, people want to do stuff with this data, right? It's not, they don't want to just sit around. And again, you know, we're living in a very big data revolution in the sense that a lot of companies are starting to realize that using this data can give us a holistic understanding of clients, users, you know, the business as a whole, and just the general population. I mean, it's not just companies that are using this data, it's also nonprofits and politicians and the government, and everybody uses data, right? Especially if you want to get ahead in today's world, data is sort of a pillar of that success, right? Yeah. Now, I guess it's also important to mention that there's been an interesting distinction between there's been an interesting sort of development in the sense that data scientists are typically the one, or has been the job over the course of the last couple of years that has sort of gotten a lot of popularity and publicity. But it's interesting because data engineers are sort of more fundamental in the sense that you need data systems in order to, or data pipelines, or at least some way to handle the data in order for data scientists to really function, because data engineers provide a nice sort of, you know, data schema and data structure, and then data scientists use that data structure. So it's interesting that the publicity has been given to data scientists when data engineers are sort of fundamental in the whole data process, which is why I think there is a huge growth going on right now for the data engineering field. But this sort of gets us into the next point, is what is the demand for data science jobs? Well, there is a huge demand for data science. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of publicity for it, and I believe it's grown significantly over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, gaining a lot of popularity, and programs are popping up all the time, right? So data science is used to create massive changes in a lot of industry. It has been used to create massive changes in a lot of industries. Companies need to hire people who can sort of get a better understanding of the data points that they have and sort of work with it to create some type of problem solving technique. And as I said before, a lot of data is being generated now, and only more is going to be generated as more people come online and companies begin to understand how they can collect more data, right? It's only going up from here, really, which you can either consider a bad thing or a good thing. But I guess in the instance of finding data science and data engineering jobs, it's a great thing. So when working in the industry, though, it is very important to realize that data science jobs have a lot of sort of data engineering baked in, and data engineering has a lot of data science baked in. And this is what's super interesting, is you oftentimes find yourself doing both, which is quite exciting. So what's the demand for data engineering jobs, and what's the sort of difference in demand between data science and data engineering? Well, data engineering has been one of the strongest growing fields in the last year. As I said, it hasn't gotten nearly as much publicity as data science, but it is growing at a significantly higher rate, which is interesting, at least in terms of this year. I'd say data science 2 years ago was at the place that data engineering is now. And you will likely see a huge influx of data engineers come into the market within the next couple of years. At least this is a prediction that I have, and a couple of other sites have as well. But a lot of companies nowadays are allocating a huge portion of their budget to data and cloud computing. There's some predictions being made that a lot of sort of on-premise data warehouses or data storage units are going to be moved to the cloud over the course of the next 5 or 10 years. And we can already see that. I mean, most of AWS's business model is their servers, right? And is their tools and services, right? So super important stuff to realize is that cloud is becoming a lot more popular, and it has been. Cloud's been becoming more and more popular with each passing year. But what that means is that as a data engineer, you can sort of capitalize on this popularity, because you will be familiar with AWS and a collection of other tools, because it's very easy to transfer cloud services if you know one of them, which is nice. You can go to Google if you know AWS, and go from Google to AWS if you know one of them, which is really powerful, because as a data engineer, it opens up a huge collection of potential job opportunities. And this goes for data science as well. With this sort of growth in data, and with this growth in data engineers, there's almost inevitably going to be a growth in data scientists, because having the data is fine, but gaining information from it's even better, right? So they're sort of tied together. With growth in data engineering, you see growth in data science, right? And that makes sense. So again, according to Dice's 2020 Tech Job Report, data engineering is the fastest growing job, growing by about 50%, right? While data science has grown 32%. And again, I believe data scientist a couple years ago was at these sort of like at least in the 40s in terms of job growth. So as I said beforehand, it is sort of in a similar position that data science was a couple of years ago, which is really exciting. And again, weird, because data engineering should have came first, but data science is the one that sort of came up on top, I guess. But again, we're seeing that sort of popularity starting to develop now. So what is the job outlook for data in general, right? So we can see that the fastest growing tech occupations have been data engineering, backend development, senior data scientists in general, to be honest, and CRM developers, user interface developers, all of these different tech and data jobs, right? Data engineering has, at least for the 2019 to 2020 year-over-year growth, been at the highest. Senior data scientists aren't far behind, though. And the nice thing about the job outlook for a data engineer is there is also less competition in the job market. There's 2.53 applicants for each job posting. And the median salary is about 102, average is about 137, and ranges go from 100 to 155, right? So pretty exciting stuff. That's a pretty good salary for both data scientist and data engineer. And you'll see that the data scientist salary is roughly the same. But data science has a higher range, I believe. I think, yeah, data scientist typically has a lower and higher range. And I think what's interesting is I think the salary is starting to drop a little bit, just because there's a lot more, if economics, if there's more people flooding the job market, the salary and is going to go down a little bit. So data engineering again is up. So I think that's why the salary is so high right now. But again, I'm sure it will continue for a couple of years and then probably follow the same course that data science is. But both, again, data engineering and data science are both very, very powerful fields that will be around for a long time, right? And again, in contrast to the DS program, we can see that, or not the DS program, the DS field, we can see that there was 4.76 applicants opposed to the 2.7 or whatever the number was, right? So per job, we can see that there's a lot more applicants going towards DS opposed to data engineering, which improves the odds if you're trying to be a data engineer. And we can also see that the salary for DS, for data scientist, has been, it's been decreasing a little bit, but the average and median are still pretty high. I mean, it's not bad. Then the range as well is a bit more spread out. It's a bit more variable. So nice. So that's the data science and DE sort of general comparison and statistics regarding employment. So which one would make more sense as a data engineer or data scientist in 2022? Honestly, I would say that it's really up to what you like. I know there's sort of a little bit of a discrepancy in the data engineering and data science salary, but I can assure you it's not a big enough one to worry too much about, in the sense that you could probably, as either as a data engineer or data scientist, land a salary within the similar field. So don't have that be the defining factor for which program you choose. It's both of them are very powerful fields that if you stay long enough in, I'm sure you'll be doing great in. So companies need data engineers right now, but companies also need data scientists right now. There are unfortunately not enough data engineers currently in circulation. Just because data scientists have been being trained a lot. There's been a lot of data scientists popping up. And the interesting thing too is most data scientist jobs actually right now are sort of data engineering jobs in disguise. Data scientists are hired and they're brought on, and then they're like, okay, please do data engineering tasks and do data engineering roles. And then you're like, oh, wait, I thought I was supposed to do some statistical modeling and data modeling and some type of, neural networks. And then they end up cleaning data and developing these huge systems that they weren't necessarily trained to develop, which is why data engineering is popping up, because people are beginning to realize that we need infrastructure before we start analyzing this stuff. So data engineering, there's not enough data engineers right now. Data analysts and data scientists provide a ton of business value, and they are sort of essential in creating some type of profitable organization. So data scientists, again, data engineering and data scientists sort of come in combo. It's nice to have both. But again, I think data engineers are a little bit more in demand right now, and data scientists are also in demand, clearly, as we saw with the previous statistics, but data engineering seemed to come on top for job demand. But in general, what should you choose? So enough talking about salary and everything. Which one do you think you might fit better in? Well, let's talk about that. Data science, data engineering, data analytics. Okay, so data science, and we'll sort of still just talk about data science and data engineering. Data analytics is a bit more business on the business side of things, but it's still an important field to sort of consider because it is still a popular one. Now, data scientists, again, as I said beforehand, just to summarize, are going to be dealing a lot with building statistical models and getting insights from the data. And they're going to be dealing with visualization of these statistical models to provide valuable business insights to some type of domain that they hopefully begin to get familiar with. Okay, that's what a data scientist is going to do, or at least what the job should look like as a data scientist. As a data engineer, you're going to be developing and constructing various data architectures that are going to provide support and act as a fundamental layer of data pipelining for data scientist and data analyst. You will be dealing with sort of cloud architecture a lot and distributed systems to set up this various infrastructure to create a strong connected network of data supplements for the data scientist and data analyst. So those are sort of the distinctions between the two. And as I mentioned, data analyst sort of is on the more business heavy side of things. So as a data analyst, you probably have very strong domain knowledge of whatever it might be, with some still strong statistical and machine learning understandings, right? And you probably know SQL very well. So those are the distinctions between the three, right? And yeah, so that is essentially the main differences. Now, let's talk as well about sort of which field. I guess I sort of mentioned this beforehand, but I probably could kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into it. So data science is going to be doing a lot with math and statistics, right? And I said that before, a lot of math, a lot of statistics, both data engineering and data science are going to be dealing a lot with programming, right? Python and SQL. But data science, again, is going to be very sort of, I'd say, research and mathematics based, while data engineering is going to be very applied and sort of architectural and spatially based. So you'll be developing sort of these overarching architectural systems, while data scientists will be developing some type of mathematic model and have a good understanding. So that is so that is essentially the difference between data science, data engineering, and data analytics. Now, yeah, and I guess I can speak from personal perspective in terms, because I've been in both the data science and the data engineering field, and I will say that they are both very exciting. Like, it's interesting because data scientists, I think, deal a lot more with people some of the times, while data engineers deal a lot more with the sort of other developers and sort of kind of code on their own, while data scientists are a bit more involved. Just because they're guiding a lot of business decisions. And that's not to say a data engineer is just kind of off on his own, not communicating with people. No, he's helping in, and coding with other people and working with the development team. But the data scientist is more on the business side of things and sort of communicating what they've found, right? So yeah, exciting stuff. Now, in terms of the TDI program for data engineering and data science, I would say that the data science program is going to be just as intensive as the data engineering program. So there's not going to be sort of any difficulty discrepancies. It's about the same in terms of difficulty. The data engineering program has, a lot of intensive stuff, and so does the data science program. The first sort of few modules of the data science and the data engineering program are going to kind of not exactly line up, but they're going to be talking about similar stuff like Python or data wrangling or machine learning or SQL or its distributed systems. Those are sort of two cores of both data science and data engineering that will be provided as a sort of foundation for you, right? And then we sort of start to branch off, and data engineers start to deal more with AWS. Data scientists start to deal more with neural networks and machine learning stuff. But the really cool thing as well, as I said, I've been in both fields, both a data scientist and a data engineer. And it's really sort of cool that you can sort of transition from data science to data engineering and data engineering to data science, because like I said, a lot of the cores are sort of fundamentals are the same. What that means is that you can sort of grab, different tools and maybe AWS or DevOps tools from data engineering and bring them onto your data science side. And now you are both a data scientist and a data engineer. And same goes for data engineering. You have the fundamentals, you have the pillars, you can grab stuff from the DS and transition over. So this is not a sort of hard set, I'm going to be a data engineer for the rest of my life, or I'm going to be a data scientist for the rest of my life. It is fluid. You both deal with data, you both have the fundamentals. So if you pick the data engineering program and you're super sad about it and you're like, oh, I should have done data science, I can assure you that the switch over to data science is a lot more fluid than, let's say, the switch from academia to any type of or to like data science, or like switching in fields entirely, going from like healthcare to, I don't know, coding or something. But I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. Yeah, but that's the nice thing, is it's not the worst thing to flip over. But yeah, that's about all I have to talk about. I appreciate you guys coming around. Sierra is going to go ahead and take the reins from me here. Talk a bit more about the programs and what DSE has to offer. So
yes, I'm going to steal the screen back from you. If you haven't put a question in the Q&A section yet, please do so. We will be opening the floor to questions at the end, so make sure you get those in there. Okay. So I've seen a couple questions from students asking, or applicants, if we offer scholarships to any of our programs, and the answer is yes, we do. We admit two types of students into our data science and data engineering programs. Our fellows are offered tuition-free scholarships to our full-time program, and we offer a limited number of these scholarships to highly qualified candidates. Fellows are expected to leave any current employment to attend our programs and are expected to interview exclusively with our hiring partners. Scholars will pay tuition to participate in our program. They are not required to interview solely with our hiring partner network and may maintain their current employment as well. Scholars still have the same access to curriculum, resources, and tools as our fellow students. The only difference is that tuition costs and then our full tuition scholarships are not offered for the part-time program. I've also seen a couple questions in the chat about our Data Science Essentials program, which is a prep to our fellowship and our data engineering programs as well. So if you're interested in going that route, you do receive a guaranteed spot in our data science fellowship course. We are offering a winter discount, so the cost is reduced to $1,000 for you to participate, and then you can apply that to your tuition cost for the fellowship and also have a guaranteed spot there as well. So a big component of our program that we really pride ourselves in is helping our students not only grasp data science and data engineering concepts, but also getting placed in the field. Our engineering program is brand new. Our first session is going to be running in our January cycle, starting January 10th. So we don't have data here just yet, but for our data science fellowship program, we see 97% of students that go through our program are currently employed outside of academia, and 82% are employed within 6 months of completing the program. And those are really great numbers. We are very proud of those numbers and have worked very hard for them. And that's really part of the challenge, is not only learning content, but being able to transition into a data science or engineering role. And that's really where our program stands out, because we help you to do both. So where are our graduates now? What are they doing? Where are they working? Again, data is not available for our engineering program just yet, but for our data science fellowship, this will give you an idea. Our graduates are working in 55 different industries. Some of the most common industries we see are computer software, internet, IT, financial services, and biotech. And then some of the typical job titles we see are data scientist, data analyst, research scientist, software developer, and product manager. And these titles and roles vary depending on the company and industry, but these are just some of the roles that we've placed in the past. And you can also see we've also, even before our data engineering program, placed quite a few students in data engineering roles as well. And then here is a short list of some of our data science fellowship hiring partners. As I mentioned previously, many of these companies are also hiring data engineer roles as well, but we are focused on building a separate network of hiring partners dedicated solely to our data engineering program. Another question I see pretty frequently is, do we offer financial options or assistance? And the answer is yes, we do. In addition to our scholarships, we have partnered with LEAF to provide an income sharing agreement. It's a really great option for many of our students. You can participate in our program with just a deposit down, and you won't be required to make any payment until you've graduated and are working and earning more than $40,000 annually. We also provide loans through Ascent. Ascent offers 3 options, one being deferred repayments, so no payments during the program and for 3 months after. There's also an interest-only repayment option, so small interest-only payments during the program and for 3 months after, and then full payments. And then the immediate repayment option. So you'll begin making full payments 1 month after the program begins, and then there are 36 and 60-month terms available. Lastly, for many of our part-time programs, companies are willing to sponsor or pay for their employees to go through the program. It's a win-win. You get to learn great stuff in the evening and be able to apply it to your job during the day. So if this is something that you think your company would be interested in or you would like to present to them, we do have a letter you can provide that will help you lay out the program and all of the benefits of attending. So where are we right now? Well, we run multiple cohorts a year, and our winter cohort is starting in January 2022, but the application for our spring 2022 cohort is now open. Our spring cohorts will run from April 4th through May 27th for our full-time program, and then April 4th through August 19th for our part-time data science program. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the full-time cohorts are 8 weeks long and the part-time cohorts are 20 weeks long. And then some specifics about the data science application. We ask that you submit your application by January 14th. And then you'll have 72 hours to complete the data science coding challenge from the time that you open it. And the challenge deadline is January 17th. We do like to mention that those deadlines are in UTC, so it's 11:59 p.m. UTC for those due dates as well. You can't complete the challenge unless you submit the application. So just in general, I recommend you complete the application and challenge sooner than later to avoid any technical issues. Right now is a great time to get that done over the holidays. We know people have a lot of extra time outside of spending time with your families, of course. So you have this time to complete that application and challenge as well. We are unable to reopen the application or challenge after that deadline. So again, we just encourage you to complete it earlier or sooner rather than later. But that is for our early admissions cycle. We do also have a regular admissions after our early admission cycle. And the difference there is that we evaluate candidates on a first come, first served basis. So if you want to have a better chance of getting a fellow spot, or just knowing earlier on if you've been accepted into the program to secure financing, or if you plan on attending in person, look at your different options there as well. I absolutely recommend applying for our early admissions application. We also offer a priority enrollment package for our data science and data engineering programs that includes access to a Python training course, early access to career services, and a one-on-one with a data science resume writer, as well as $2,000 off your tuition for direct payment. And if you're interested in applying to our program, which I hope you are, you can go to the dataincubator.com/apply to submit your application. And if you have any questions about your specific situation, this presentation, or going through our application process, please reach out to us. Again, admissions@thedataincubator.com, and we'd be more than happy to answer your questions or schedule a call with an enrollment counselor. And then just one last update there, or plug there, for our Data Science Essentials program. Again, you have that $1,000 discount, or I guess the total is $1,000 for the Data Essentials program for our winter special, but you do have to register by January 10th to receive that discount as well. So with that, I will open up the floor to questions. If you haven't put your question in the Q&A box just yet, make sure that you do so that we can answer it live today. So our first question here, and this is going to be more geared towards Nick, are data engineering skills more perishable compared to data science?
I think it depends. I think most fields, at least involving some type of computer science, are perishable. I think it might be a bit more so in terms of, and for data engineering than data science, specifically because I think a lot of data science is theory-based and statistical and mathematics-based, while some of the data engineering stuff, it is a bit more practice oriented, in the sense that there's ways in which you should design a data warehouse, but as the technologies change, so do the ways in which you should design a data warehouse or a database. So by the very act of the technologies and the fields and the tools changing frequently, it causes the ways in which we design and implement various systems to also change. But the nice thing is, even if they are perishable, I think as long as you're still using the skills, you will be on top of, like, oh, maybe AWS comes up with something, or maybe somebody, maybe a new cloud service is taking over instead of AWS, or maybe, like you need to use a different data warehousing tool. Well, you already sort of understand a lot of the fundamentals through AWS, so it's not too hard to transfer over. And I'd say that goes for most programming fields. Yeah, I hope that answered your question.
And then another question here is it possible or advisable to be specialized in, say, data science and know the basics of data engineering?
Yeah, so as I said beforehand, I think it goes, if you know data engineering, you know the basics of data science. If you know data science, you typically know the basics of data engineering. I think where it starts to diverge is where you, the more complex skills. Now, I would say that it is not a bad idea to understand the fundamentals of data engineering if you're a data scientist, and it's not a bad idea to understand the fundamentals of data science if you're a data engineer, because you do interact with either a data analyst or a data scientist as a data engineer, and vice versa. You're part of a team, a development team, so it's a good understanding to get an idea of where they're coming from without having to get too much of an explanation, right? Alongside that as well, it just makes you more desirable if you know both data engineering and data science, and it's not that far away if you already know one of them. If you know data science, you can get the tools to be a data engineer, and vice versa. Yeah.
Another question here, will the data engineering program prepare us to get AWS certificates?
Yeah, it does prepare you to get a collection of certificates. There might be a little bit of work, a little bit more work that needs to be put in, but it's not a lot in the sense that, maybe we don't cover one technology, but I think we're covering about 8 or 9, and we give you a good understanding of the sort of infrastructure. And like we cover stuff like VPC and like security groups and IAM roles and a lot of that stuff as well. So we get a lot of the fundamentals down, and then we dive into the more data engineering specific tools like Glue and EMR. Um, but in terms of like understanding lambdas, EC2s, S3, IAM, all that stuff, that should be good enough to get your certificate in a collection of things, along with the added tools that we'll be learning over the course of the curriculum. So yeah, it should set you up nicely to get a certificate.
Another question here, is there any discount for paying all tuition or early application? So yes, there is a discount for both. If you apply early and pay directly, you'll receive a $2,000 discount on your tuition. If you apply in regular admissions and pay directly, then you'll receive a $1,000 discount on your tuition as well. Another question here, can I show the fellow versus scholar slide again? And yes, I will go back here. So again, for anyone who missed that, we do offer full tuition scholarships for both our data science and data engineering full-time programs. So our fellows are our students that receive those tuition-free scholarships. Again, those requirements are that we ask that our fellows leave any current employment and then interview exclusively with our hiring partners during and for 3 months after the program. And then our scholars that participate in our program receive the same resources, curriculum, all of that included as well. The only difference is the tuition cost there. Okay, going back to our Q&A, says, I am coming from a networking background with no programming experience. Is this program for me? Nick, I will pass that one to you.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that this program is for you. You come from a networking background. So in terms, I think you might have to do a little bit of pre-work in order to be properly prepared for the program. Just getting an understanding of Python and SQL might be advantageous. Otherwise, you might be a little overwhelmed. So I would say, but I would say yes. I think this program, it's not like it starts from the very beginning, but it does start at a place that I think a lot of people can hop on to. Now, I will say that you have a little bit of experience with networking, so yeah, I would say yeah. I think you could do well in this program, especially if you do just a week or two of prep work before the program. You should be perfectly fine. And again, you have the resources as well as the you have the instructors. You have a ton of resources that provide you. You have other students like or other fellows and scholars. Like you'll have the support you need to succeed.
Okay, another question here. Are international students eligible for the fellowship? So I will say we have students that participate from all over the world with a variety of visa statuses as well. So we also are able to connect you with an immigration attorney, and we do host a session for incoming students as well. So to answer your question, yes, you are eligible to apply. We have many students that participate from all over, and then we can also give you that connection to you if you have questions about visa requirements or statuses with an immigration attorney as well. Okay, another question, is Python a formal requirement? What if I'm proficient using R?
So we don't use any R throughout the entire program. I would say it's definitely a good idea to know Python if you want to be a data scientist. I think that is pretty much, I think that's taking over. And as well as a data engineer. Like I don't think you can't get by with just R as a data engineer. But again, it's not necessarily that you are entirely proficient in Python, but it is a sort of good idea to be exposed to Python if you are joining the DS or DE program. And again, there's like the Essentials program and a collection of other things that you can sort of use. And again, you don't have to be 100% proficient. Like we do, like the program starts at a nice place, so it helps you become proficient in Python. But like I said, it might be a good idea, or at least a prerequisite, to get a little familiar with Python, just like what a function is, or like stuff like that, just because it will just line you up more for success, so you don't feel like you're constantly falling behind or feel like you're overwhelmed. Yeah.
I will add on to that as well too. I get this question a lot from students that are going through the coding challenge as well. So you're not required to use Python for the coding challenge. You can use R or any other language that you're most comfortable in. But as Nick mentioned, we do recommend getting up to speed on Python or going through our Essentials program to also help you prepare before the fellowship. And then there's another question here. Is there an essential program for data engineering, or does the data science essential program prep for data engineering as well? I would say it preps for both because there is a lot of crossover between both programs. So I would recommend utilizing that program to help you either to enroll in the data science or data engineering program as well.
Yep, I agree with that.
And then I see another question here. Can we talk more about data science essentials? I think just because of timing today, we don't have a lot of time to go into data science essentials, but if you have questions about enrolling in that program, again, especially with that winter special, please email us admissions@thedataincubator.com. We can schedule a call with a counselor to go more in detail with that.
Yeah, and it just covers like Python and SQL and some fundamentals. It's nothing, yeah.
All right, any other questions? If you have time for maybe one or two more. So it says, I do both R and SAS. Why is Python better?
Python's, I would say I mean, there's more opportunity to do stuff with Python. Python definitely has a way larger community, way more packages, I mean, Python does a lot of stuff. I mean, especially compared to R, and it sort of gives you a lot of more flexibility, and just, I think knowing Python as a language is probably a lot more advantageous than knowing R, just because of all of the opportunities and sort of tools that are out there that you can utilize with Python. I mean, you can build entire web applications. You can interact with AWS. You can build entire data models. You can do neural network stuff. It's just more. It's way more expansive than R. Yeah.
I will say too, with our priority enrollment package, if you enroll in early admissions, you do get access to a Python prep course as well. So just another thing to help you prepare for the program. I do see one more question here. I come from a statistics background, but now I work as a web app developer. Which one from data science or data engineering would suit me better?
I guess it depends on what type of web app development you did. If you did back-end development, probably data engineering. If you did like a lot of like data modeling and stuff, then probably back-end, especially. And if you have a statistics background, honestly, you'd probably be suitable for both. If you did statistics and front end, maybe data science would be a little bit better. But like I said, if you did back-end, then data engineering is probably a bit closer to what you've been doing. And that's assuming you want to continue to do, similar stuff to web development. But I don't know. So
All right, our last question here. Do you have employment opportunities? Yes, we do. We have a network of hiring partners. That's a big component of our program, not only the technical training, but also the soft skills training. So we really highlight the importance of the career services lectures that we have our students go through. We really help prepare you to interview in the job market. And then again, we have that hiring partner network to connect you with for job placement as well. So with that, I want to thank everyone for attending today. Again, if we didn't get to your question, or if you'd like to speak with an enrollment counselor, please email us. I know that our email is in the chat box, and I've probably said it 10 times in this session today, but if anyone is a latecomer here, admissions@thedataincubator.com is how to get in contact with us or an enrollment counselor. Also, you will get a recording of this presentation as well. I think it takes maybe 72 hours to process before you receive that. So if you have any questions in the meantime, please email us again. We'll be happy to schedule a call, and we hope to see you all, your applications for our spring session as well. So thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.